Football, as we all know it, is back, and everyone gets excited, Jeremy, as per the new season and what to expect. And we're on this merry-go-round once again. And before we get into some major talking points, let's start it off from the big one in the Premier League: Manchester United against Arsenal. With Arsenal at Old Trafford actually coming out tops, beating Manchester United by a solitary goal by a defender again. And you look at that, Manchester United work day. But let's get it started. Looking at how things played out, some will say encouraging play from Manchester United. But some will say, as they ended last season, they have begun a new season.
Well, the result does matter when it comes to games like this, because whether you like to talk about the progress, all we still want to see at the end of the day is the result.
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho will remind you that he doesn't need to play entertaining football to win a match. And what we saw from Ruben Amorim's side today was they played a very, very different style. They were more cohesive, more attacking, more threatening. But we saw at the end of the day, what really mattered, Arsenal did the job.
But sometimes when you are building and you look at a game like this, because certainly they will not play Arsenal every single day.
Exactly.
We know the next line of fixtures. In the next 2-3 fixtures they've got Burnley, they've got Manchester City in the mix, and you look at all I think Wolverhampton Wanderers, their next game, they will not be playing Arsenal every other week. So if they play like this against Manchester City, Burnley against Wolverhampton Wanderers, something might just give.
Yeah, true. Because if you look at what happened today, we saw a lot of progress from Manchester United. It's a different side. Whether we like it or not, this is a different side.
Okay.
We saw a side that was hungry, because if you watch the game, you would have seen Cunha was into the game. A new signing, Mbeumo was giving his all. There was a lot of chemistry between the side. The camaraderie was just obvious to see. Patrick Dogu also threatening on the attack and making his presence felt. If you look at all of these things together, you will clearly tell that Manchester United might just be back. They might not have gotten a result against Arsenal today, but let them play against other opposition sides in the Premier League. Definitely some teams will crack.
All right, let's see how it goes. Today, I don't know, time will not permit us, but I don't think it's worth discussing. All right, the London Derby ended goalless. Crystal Palace against Chelsea. All right, what champions Chelsea? Let me correct myself. What champions Chelsea? They've ended. That badge is there. And it will be there for another 4 years.
Yeah.
Hate it or love it, you cannot change that.
You can't
take that away.
Hmm.
All right, but the biggest talking point, we'll dwell on two things before we actually move on. Because before we talk about the strikers that are firing on all cylinders, the biggest talking point away from the Premier League has to be that Barcelona game that happened. And you look at the Barcelona game, and it's a head scratcher. And people have asked questions. That's, come on. Barcelona gets favored. And I look at this and I say, maybe not. Maybe the referee was just poor on the day as against Barcelona being favored. Because I would think it is the referee just being poor on the day as against Barcelona being favored in the La Liga.
Well, I think it's more than the referee being poor on the day. I think it's La Liga generally favoring Barcelona, because
I don't think it's a systemic problem.
No, I think it's a systemic problem, because if we look at other things that are currently surrounding Barcelona right now and the RFEF, the agreements they make when it comes to Barcelona, it's becoming very appalling. It's like the league is on the side of Barcelona.
So are you saying, who do you think Javier Tebas and his guys favor more, Barcelona or Madrid?
I think it's actually Barcelona, because if you look at because if you look at the fact that there's a La Liga game between Barca and Real Madrid and Villarreal that's supposed to happen later during the season.
Yeah.
And that game has been pushed to the US. And you look at the fact that Real Madrid have made many complaints recently, even talked about pushing their first game of the season a bit further. And Javier Tebas didn't board. But Barcelona's game against Villarreal.
Apples and oranges.
Exactly.
Apples and oranges,
True.
yeah? Apples and oranges,
True.
yeah? Because last season, it looked like Real Madrid got their own fair share of officiating decisions go in their own favor. And if you'd ask me, both of them are as guilty and whether they are complicit in this particular crime.
Well, Barcelona has Negreira's case to remember. But looking at the actual talk yesterday, I think for
So
Rafinha
you're
yesterday,
talking about the Rafinha
yeah,
tackle, yeah.
I think for Rafinha, he should have gotten a red card because
He
you
should
don't
have.
go two legs, scissors against the defender. That was nearly a career-ending tackle because if care was not taken, we could have just been saying
How about the defender against Lamine Yamal? That was a second yellow card. That was a sending off.
exactly.
So that's the point, that it is poor officiating as against Barcelona being favored in the game.
I won't say poor officiating. I would say they were favored because if you are going to book the Mallorca player for the same tackle and you are going to see Rafinha's angle was even worse.
Agreed.
And yet,
agreed.
Rafinha wasn't getting a red card in that situation. We've seen situations like that in the Premier League where the referee is not consistent, but the one we saw yesterday has nothing to do with consistency now. It has to do with questions. It means that there are a lot of questions to be asked about this current Barcelona side, and probably maybe there is something currently going on with the referees that we don't know.
All right, before we actually end it today, just try to keep it short and simple and straight to the point. Liverpool. Once again, of course, Fede started off on a very emotional note. Liverpool decided to do quite a lot. Of course, when you look at the tifo that Wolverhampton Wanderers did for Diogo Jota, fantastic. I loved it. But at the end of the day, you look at Liverpool, a curious case, if you'd ask me, because on one side, they seem to be flying on all cylinders. Because with some going out, the Darwin Núñez and co, when you look at those on ground, Hugo Ekitike got on the score sheet. Mohamed Salah, after huffing and puffing, got on the score sheet. We could go on and on. Cody Gakpo got on the score sheet yesterday. They actually went on to win 4-2. But my big question today is, should we be worried for Liverpool's defense? Because against not the best of sides, against Crystal Palace and against Wolverhampton Wanderers, my brother, they've shown that if you can run at that defense, you will get goals against them.
Yeah, if you look at what happened against Bournemouth, you'd question the defenders because if you look at the first goal, the cross, Semenyo was left open. The second goal also, the defenders just didn't know what they were doing at that point.
They were just backing up.
And they weren't really facing him. And that's where you start questioning that. When does Virgil van Dijk eventually start facing defenders? Because for a while, I think we've gotten past the fact that Van Dijk, in a way, is a bit cowardly.
When he cannot speak ill of one of the best defenders in the Premier League.
I'm talking about when you are one-on-one with, in a one-on-one situation. You see most times he's always pushing another player to that position. If you remember the game against Barca, the Ramontada, he was always pushing players to meet Messi. He wasn't facing Messi head on. So, and
I think called leadership, my brother.
Leadership, but in situations whereby you also know that at that point you have to make the big move rather than pushing it on someone else, he's always still doing that. But I think for Liverpool this season, looking at their defense, I don't think with the current crop of players they have right now at the back that they would really go that far. But when you look at the attack that they have right now, with Hugo Ekitike currently scoring in 2 games already, there's Cody Gakpo also doing his best. Federico Chiesa is now finally joining in.
Yeah.
So you look at all of these things, the camaraderie is still the same because the midfield is still as balanced as ever. So if we say, okay, probably the defense has slipped up for just 2 games, it might not slip up for the rest of the season. It might just be probably maybe 2 games that they need to learn from.
All right, new season, new troubles. And I must say, what a way to go. What a way to start the new season.
Bangers after bangers.
All right. It's a wrap.